morning, everyone. This is your Chill and Heal show. I am Chrissy, Chill Girl Chrissy, and Alderman in Manchester, Ward 6, and I'm here to fuel your mind, body, and soul with goodness. We will connect, open up, share, be real, be raw, overcome, let go, learn, and grow together to simply live a happy life. And remember, sharing is caring, and we are not alone. And Victoria does a lot of sharing, and I was just finishing up watching your show yesterday. Right of Courage?
Right with Courage.
Right with Courage. This is Victoria Sullivan.
Thank you for having me today. This is nice.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited. So I first met you when you were on the campaign trail.
Yep, running for mayor.
Running for mayor. And what year was that?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I figured today's segment would be about sharing, loving, and recovery and hope. And it is. It's been an amazing week this week.
I know. Congratulations on winning again, in spite of everything that they threw at you again.
Oh my gosh.
And you won a court case. You were able to get, I would say gentleman, but he wasn't, a man who was basically harassing you with
yes,
nude pictures.
Yes, inappropriate. And you know what? There's so much recovery and there's so much hope. And I think that coming through these things, and as running for mayor, what year did you run for mayor?
I ran in 2019 and 2021.
Okay. So you know what it's like being on the political trail. Like I'm a newbie to all of this. Yeah. The harassment, the lies, the scandals.
And I was a state rep before that.
And you were state rep. So you've been leading the way and fighting the good fight for years.
Well, thank you.
And thank you so much. And thank you. You clearly put your armor of God on every single day. And, and shining the light and fighting the good fight. And so thank you so much.
Thank you.
We don't know.
Ephesians 6:12. Check it out.
Yes. Amen. We don't know what people go through until you get into it.
So let me tell you how. So I was a stay-at-home mom for years. Thank you to my husband for allowing me to, working his tail off so that I could raise our kids. And I was a PTA president for their school, really involved. I had a drama club that was that was all volunteer run.
Amazing.
We did it for 7 years. And I was really involved in the school. And I started to see things changing from my kids are 21 months apart, between my oldest and my youngest. Even in kindergarten, kindergarten changed from playful and fun, and they had half-day kindergarten, and it was recess and great, and they did a play, to my younger son, 21 months later, comes in, and it's very, they would call rigorous standards in kindergarten. We're same teacher, and she is a blessing and a wonderful person and a friend of mine now. Amazing woman who really tried to keep the balance for the kids against a system that was changing so dramatically against them. And I started seeing these things and the curriculum changes, and I decided to finally put my name on a ballot because I was PTA president. I was really involved in the school. And when I had an issue with anything in the building, I was turned away. I was attacked by administration, but also from other parents, because how dare you speak up? The schools are perfect. How dare you speak up, right? So I decided to run, and I went with just the intention of making education better, giving parents a stronger voice in education. So when I found myself on Twitter being attacked by a man named Ray Buckley, who I didn't even know who he was, I was shocked. I was like, who is this guy and why does he hate me?
Yeah, who is this guy?
So, and that's how I knew about the New Hampshire Dems. Because prior to that, serving as a state rep, it was we all got along. We didn't agree on things I didn't agree with the Democrats on my committee. We would fight over bills and policy. And then when it was over, right, the hearing was over or our day was done, we'd ask about each other's families, we'd talk, we'd go for lunch. And then in 2016, everything changed. Everything became very toxic. Everything became very divisive. There was no longer having a difference of opinion. If you differed in opinion, you were a racist. All those names that they just throw at you, hoping that something sticks. And it became very, very toxic. And I think that's where we are still. And I just look at how much and how quickly it changed, and you can see it on social media. people say things about me and to me on social media as they hide behind that they would never say to my face ever.
Those nasty
Right?
keyboard unhinged people.
And they don't. There's no accountability.
There's no accountability
And
yet.
And you should be able to have exchanges and conversations where you don't agree with people.
Yeah.
Right?
Agree to disagree. Let's put everything on the table and let's talk about it.
But you learn
Yes,
from each
you
other that
learn.
way, right? You
Yeah.
might see a different perspective. There were times where I was in a hearing and I saw the bill ahead of time and I knew it was on the docket and I knew exactly how I was going to vote for it. Yes, of course it makes sense to vote this way. And then we'd have the hearing and people would change my mind. And that's what's supposed to happen. That's why we have hearings, right? But those conversations are really important. And if you take away the ability to have a frank, honest conversation, even if it ruffles feathers, like that, the other party likes to say that we're all a threat to the democracy. They are the ones who are a threat because they want to shut down all conversation.
Yeah, they want to silence us. They want to censor us. And speaking up is so important. But when you're being attacked,
It's hard. It's hard on your family.
Really
too.
hard. It is hard on your family, and I just Right to Courage. That's a great name of your show.
Because we are strongly believe in our conservative values, and to speak of those things, it does take courage. It shouldn't.
And are they really American values?
They are.
It's like all American values. Like, we should not be divided this way. We should all be respectful and kind. We can agree to disagree, but calling each other names for,
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's not possible. Like, I can't be a racist. Like, really? Like, they're calling me a racist, and I'm like, excuse me, I'm Mexican, Spanish, some French. I'm like a blend of a little bit of everything. I think
beautiful blend of
Thank
everything.
you. And aren't we all?
We're all mutts.
Yes.
We're all a blend of other backgrounds. That's how we got it. We are the melting pot. And the division that they keep trying to push, especially on the kids. It's really upsetting to me to see it with the kids. My oldest son is now in college, and as we did college tours, I saw a lot of that on campuses where the kids giving the tour would be like, how do you identify?
I'm like, I identify as Chrissy.
And everyone was like sort of in these pockets.
It's
and
crazy.
then we went by an ROTC room, and they said, oh, that's for the ROTC. Those kids identify as being in the military. I'm like,
that is ridiculous.
Right. Everything isn't about identity. How do you become?
How do we grow?
How do you come together with other people if everyone's put in these silos and these pockets and saying like, well, you're that, so we can't talk to you, or if you talk to them, then you're betraying your culture. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we need to really get back to bringing everybody back together. And I think a lot of this is also backfiring on the kids. I think they're becoming more withdrawn.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, they're afraid to speak up, or they're hidden in their computers and their tablets and their phones, and they don't talk to each other. Some of the best conversations. So I'm a Christian, and some of the best conversations I had growing up with my friends who were Jewish, because everyone around me was Christian, right? So we would have these, and I don't like sleepovers. We would talk about our religion and the differences, and just understand each other better. Yeah. And those conversations are super important.
They're so important. And Jesus was Jewish.
He's
Jewish,
Don't tell anyone that, because apparently that's, you can't say that these days.
Do you know that I was raised Jewish?
No.
I was in the Jewish community I grew up in the north end of Manchester. I'm a junkyard girl. So to me, I'm like a blend of a little bit of everything. And I feel like I relate to so many people, and so do you. But I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
Now, but
and to see the way that the attacks on our Jewish communities, the attacks, there was I love Tim Scott, Senator Tim Scott. I just think he's a really great guy. I've had the opportunity to get to know him a little bit and meet him. Amazing. And he was I didn't watch the debate last night. My son went hunting and he came home. And I made him soup and warmed him up and heard about the one that got away stories. Found that was more important than watching the debate. But in the recap today, one of the journalists wrote that Tim Scott was doing his best to be the Ned Flanders of the campaign. And Ned Flanders is the overly, Christian, charismatic guy on The Simpsons, right? So I thought, wow, what an attack to make on this man who he lives his life as a Christian. Like he is very open about this is his core belief system. This is who he is. And now this is a right of center paper, right? So like, who are we that we're attacking each other on religious values and beliefs? Like how did we get here? Everything is just divisive and an attack, and you can't even be honest about who you are without someone taking a shot at you.
And it's really, really sad because shouldn't we be honoring everyone's religion and honoring everyone's, who they are and everyone's culture? And shouldn't we be embracing each other's culture and sharing our, who we are and what we're about and community? I mean, it's just really, really sad what is going on. And it's breaking us up. And I feel like with that, there's like more substance abuse.
There's more mental health issues because of it. And especially we're seeing kids, because of the isolation from COVID, from the decisions that people made around their education. And
it kills me. It's so sad.
I was blessed. My kids go to private school thanks to the Children's Scholarship Fund, because we would never be able to do that. They went to school throughout. They only had that break when, everything shut down that first spring, and they were back into school in the fall. So they didn't have a lot of that isolation. I signed them up. You and I were chatting a little bit, I think, about MPAL, right?
Oh, yes.
So the Manchester Police Athletic League was one of the few things happening in the city where they were still allowing kids to come in and do sports and activities. So I signed them up for boxing, not thinking in my head, not fast forwarding to when COVID was over and there'd actually be physical contact again, and they'd actually be punching people and getting punched. Like I didn't think that far ahead, because at that time it was all just conditioning and
training
and
without actual
sparring. So the first time they came home and said, "We're sparring," I'm like, no, that's not what I signed up for. But they love it, and the volunteers and the coaches over there are amazing people, and they're volunteers. So there were things, and I think a lot of our city sports sort of broke through that COVID barrier, and we're like, no, we're getting kids back on the field. We're going to start doing things, and I think that was really great for some kids that had that outlet, but for a lot of kids, they just were not allowed to go back into the school building, or they went only part-time, and their activities were canceled. And you think about the kids in the band and drama and things like that were important to them that they couldn't do. And a lot of that, especially in these impressionable years, we're seeing a lot of harm from that, a lot of trauma, a lot of mental illness. And then you combine that with the opioid epidemic that we have, that some of these kids are being raised by grandparents or someone else because their parents aren't able to care for them, or they've lost them to addiction.
Which is just so sad. And how many people have passed away from drug doses, and there's like so much to everything that's been going around, not just in Manchester, but nationwide. Yeah. The epidemic of drugs, and the other thing that I went through, what you were talking about, inappropriate behaviors. We need to get back to our morals, and we need to really, truly help people. And how do we truly help people is digging really, really deep. And you have an amazing program. And last week I had this amazing woman, Alexis, on, and she shared her road to recovery, because she was a woman like us. And, things happen in life, and all of a sudden you don't realize that. Well, you don't realize things happen, and you could become addicted to drugs. Yeah. You just never know, because the pharmaceutical companies,
There are a few movies out there about how the pharmaceutical industry really created this situation that we have. And, I've met people on the streets who were functioning adults. They had jobs, they had families, they got an injury, they had a car accident, they had a sports injury, they were put on opioids, they became addicted, they found themselves on the streets and looking for heroin, looking for street drugs, looking for anything. And this was all set up by the pharmaceutical companies, who have taken no responsibility for what's happening,
which is unacceptable.
They should be giving donations to every single sober home in the city. They should be giving donations to every single recovery center because they created this.
Yes, they did. They did. And they've been killing our families and our loved ones, literally.
So we have Freedom Movement New Hampshire that we started back in July. And our goal right now is we have room for 24 men.
That's
and
amazing.
We want to have it filled by Christmas.
Oh my gosh.
And it's a center where people can, they live there. It's in downtown Manchester, which is good because they have access to services and to community. The hard part is it's so close to the shelter that we are now seeing a lot of overdoses in our backyard, in our alley, in our doorways. And it's really a struggle for people that are trying to remain sober in this city when there's so much of it around them, So our goal is to raise enough money that we can have all the beds in there, all the dressers in there, the things that they need to start out. We're giving them help finding jobs. We're helping them with job training. We have when you talk about the Life House for Women, we're actually working with an organization called Resilient Kids. So I'm going to reach out to them and tell them about it. So it's 40 developmental assets, and it's for parents. It's a parenting tool. And it helps these adults get rid of their own trauma and give tools to their kids to be resilient, healthy kids.
That's amazing.
So when you're talking about bringing these families together, the programs for men are just as important, if not more so, than the programs for women. And to be able to reunite families with healthy fathers and healthy mothers is really a great thing, because then you end up having healthy kids. And to break the generational cycle is really what we're trying to do here. We really want to stop that generational cycle of addiction and trauma, and really bring new hope, new light to our community. And a lot of folks came here for the Safe Stations program. They were promised services that weren't delivered to them, and they ended up living on our streets. So our other goal is to help reunite these families with their own community and their families back where they're from. And that can be difficult because there's a lot of bridges burned, right?
Yes,
but
a lot of heartache.
A lot of heartache.
Broken relationships, what addiction does to yourself and your loved ones.
And trust. The trust is often
rebuilding.
The hard part.
So can you share a little? So how do they get in touch with you?
So we've got a Facebook page. I'm on Instagram, Twitter. We have a website through Wix site. So it's Freedom Movement New Hampshire. And like the Facebook page is really what I monitor the most. But we're going to be launching a big event pretty soon. So we're going to have a Spread the Light Festival of Trees.
I love it.
Spread the Light, Spread the Hope Festival of Trees. And we'll be looking at businesses, families, organizations, anybody that wants to put together a Christmas tree, a fake Christmas tree, fake one, put together a tree with a theme that you want, like Chill Spa would do a little,
and we are doing one.
You are?
Yes,
awesome.
yes, we are.
A little mini, trial size products on there, maybe a gift certificate. Families could do something that's, a snowman theme or whatever they like. And then people come in and they buy raffle tickets and put them in the boxes in front of the trees, and then the hope and win things. But so we're doing it for 2 days, December 1st and 2nd. And I want to give a shout out to Tyler and Jack, who own the Framers Market on Elm Street, the north end of Elm Street, because they're loading us their store for 48 hours to be able to have it there. And if we get more trees than they can handle, then we're going to be looking for other spots where people could actually stroll and look at other trees too. So we're really excited. This is our first fundraiser, because we've only started in July. And the guys are excited about it. They're going to put a tree together. And I just think it's a great event. Christmas is a season of hope and love and joy. And to really, these guys work so hard every day on their recovery. And it's a job. They go to work, but then they've got meetings, and they've got counseling, and they've got things that they've really got to take care of, and they're really working. So to give them something to look forward to that's a joyful event is really something exciting for me. I think it's great because they really have been working really hard. And that's what we want, right? We hear a lot in the community about, nobody wants help. They want to live on the streets. They want to be where they're at. Well, I can tell you that there are some people like that. but the people that we're working with are not those people. We have very strict guidelines for living in the house.
Okay.
There's drug testing, there's alcohol testing. You have to be working. You have to be contributing to society. If you can't work, you have to be volunteering. You have to be giving back in some way. And these are the steps that people are always saying should happen. So these are the steps that are happening. So we're not giving anyone a handout. We're giving them a hand up to get on a better path.
Amazing.
And we call it liberation from addiction and into a freer life. That's why we're Freedom Movement. It's a movement.
Yeah.
It's not
I
a
got
stagnant
goosebumps.
thing. It's a movement
True
toward
freedom. True
Yeah.
freedom. True freedom. And I know that, can you share a little bit about, I know Steve and Michelle, Richard, who are good friends of mine.
So Steve is the vice chair. I'm the chair. Steve is the vice chair. And then we've got Marion Ward, who is our secretary. Mallory Vasquez is our treasurer. God bless her, because that's a job I never want to have to deal with. It's the hardest job. And then Brittany Ping is our at-large member, as is Shane Bernier. And Shane does our outreach. He's really been instrumental in setting up the house, helping us get the program developed. This is really, the bulk of the work has really been on his shoulders, and he's amazing.
He is definitely amazing. I've seen him in action, him and Amanda
on the
Robichard,
streets.
unbelievably, literally helping people come off the streets and really road to recovery.
And I don't know how they do it, because
They have a
I
gift.
would be adopting everyone. Like, they are able to find the balance between helping people and not enabling people. Do you know what I mean?
And there is a fine line between helping and enabling.
There is, and they're very good at it. The outreach that they do every day on the streets, every single day out there is amazing. And Shane they both have gotten people from the park into recovery. And I watched him one day out there talking to a young man who had been through recovery, but he was homeless. He had nowhere to go after recovery. And he said, hey, this is the guy. Talk to him. Meet him here at this time, and he's going to help you get to where you need to get to. And, we have people out there that are actually raising funds and helping get people transportation back to where they have home and community and resources that aren't here. And that's really important for stability. We talked about isolation. Isolation is the worst thing for addiction.
It is the worst.
And we tend to do that, though. When you put someone in recovery for 30 days, they're completely cut off from their support system. And so when they come out, we really want to build up their community. And our residence is a community. It's a brotherhood. And they, we hope that when people graduate, they go on their own, they come back and they share their stories with us and help the other guys and mentor.
Is it a certain timeline? How does that work?
We want them there 6 to 12 months.
Okay.
And we really want to give them,
A great foundation.
Yeah, and we want a brotherhood.
Strong.
We want them to think it's community, but we also don't want it to be there where they'll be forever. The whole goal is to give them the tools that they need to have independent lives, where they're successful, where they get reunited with their families, and be on a forever track. This isn't a temporary situation. This is a forever track.
And with recovery, you're giving back too, and that is part of recovery. And I know that because I have family members in recovery, and it is a blessing that you're giving so many people to rebuild their families.
But they're doing the work.
Yes, they're doing the work.
We're just providing the space, and they're doing
the
the work.
tools.
And like I said, some of these guys are dads. So making sure that we get the dads strong again to be good fathers in their home and give them the tools that they need to be there for their kids and their wives is really important.
It is so important. And now, have you heard of this other program?
I hadn't. I have.
Oh, I actually
That's
have
me.
you.
She has us on Facebook playing.
I'm like, oh, it's
so
been one of
Lighthouse
those
is
weeks.
another organization that works with women that I've met with.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Oh, this is New Life.
This is New Life. So that's
New
a
Life
different
Home.
one. So
They've been there
I'm gonna
for
need to
40
check them out.
years.
Wow.
40 years.
That's amazing.
Right near YDC.
So our
so they're
goal-
women and children. And so yours, men.
Yeah, and our goal is to not be needed anymore. Like that's our ultimate goal, to be so successful at this that we aren't needed anymore. And I'm hopeful
Graduating
with
people.
the new Board of Mayor and Aldermen, the new
Yes.
mayor, that we'll be able to move in that direction and really reach out and connect all resources, because people have been in silos. And and I talked to Pat Long about this the other day, and he's had sort of, I will say, an awakening. He might not use that word, but he's changed his perspective on how they're doing things in the city. I gave him a little bit of a hard time because I was like, really, Pat? Because I've been saying it for 5 years. But about how they're doing it. So I think you're going to, on your board, have Pat Long and Bill Berry that are also going to be able to work on these on a new way of looking at things, a new vision for the city, and addressing new ways to work with the opioid epidemic and the homelessness. And I think everybody's ready for that change. And
Yeah,
that
I think that I believe that Pat Long and Bill Berry, they want accountability and they want transparency, and they've been asking for it. But it's really going to be so great because we're going to have a new mayor. We have more aldermen that are like
seven.
Like ordinary all-Americans that have like stepped up to make great change in Manchester.
You got seven Republican aldermen, but then you've got, I think you're going to find Bill Berry and Pat Long will be very helpful to you. Tony Sapienza might come on board with you now that he doesn't have so much pressure behind the scenes. I mean, from what I know, that board was a little toxic before because of the leadership. So I think moving forward, you might have more unity in the board and certainly less infighting on the board.
I'm like hopeful for the solutions and, just real conversations and like, hey, let's just get the job done.
And like we said, you don't have to agree. But if you bring something forward and Pat brings something forward, somewhere in the middle there's a way to make some change, something better. It might not be exactly what you want or exactly what he wants, but a step in the right direction to something. And that's what it should always be, a step forward, right? Instead of just otherwise. We've seen it for the last 6 years. Knocking heads, nothing getting done, more people dying on our streets, and a mayor who for 6 years just somehow walked through it all pretending nothing was happening. And luckily now that has changed. I think people are ready, like I said, for change.
Yeah, I think so. I think people are ready for change. They're ready to open up their hearts a little bit more, open up their minds.
We got to a point where people were dealing with the homelessness and the opioid epidemic so much, they became hard-hearted. They really did. There was like no heart for it anymore. And I'm hoping with conversation we can, and programs like we're doing and that Life Home is doing, where we can show that these people are really working hard to regain their lives. I hope that changes people's hearts and minds about helping and getting involved and seeing how this can actually be a productive way forward.
And true recovery and really restoring people's lives and loving and caring. And thank you so much, Victoria.
Thank you. And if anyone wants to find out more about us, you can find us on Facebook. It's Freedom Movement New Hampshire, and on Twitter. And we'll be launching that event really soon. So get your ideas ready about what kind of tree you'd like to donate.
I love it. And so we're going to chill on, we're going to love, we're going to look up and just be kind and random acts of kindness. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.